Have you ever had a money or career question you really wanted to ask, but didn't know who to go to or just felt uncomfortable even bringing it up? You're not alone. Talking about money can feel intimidating, even scary. And that's exactly what I'm trying to change. That's why I created a free virtual coffee chat, a casual, no pressure 20-minute conversation where you can bring one thing you're wrestling with and we'll talk it through. No judgment, no jargon, no sales pitch, just clarity, ease, and a real answer from someone who gets it. If you've got something on your mind, don't sit in the confusion. Book a spot at limitfreelife.com and let's sip and sort it out. Hey there, and welcome to Money and You. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. My search for more fulfilling work led me to career and business coaching, where I stumbled upon a game-changing discovery. Money issues often start with our mindset and habits. You see, our relationship with money is the key to overcoming those frustrating financial obstacles. As an entrepreneur, coach, and problem solver, I'm passionate about helping you create a great relationship with money. Because, turns out, that's the foundation for a limit-free life. Each week on Money and You, I speak with amazing guests about all things money, mindset, practical tips, and everything in between. We're here to give you new insights, education, and empowerment so money can be one of your favorite relationships. So join us for some lively conversations and let's transform your financial life together. Hello, and welcome to the Money and You Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host, and I'm very excited about today's show. And I think you will be too. This is going to be a great show. We've got two guests today, and they've written a terrific new book called Beyond Breakeven. And we'll get into all of this. I'm going to bring them on in a minute, and I'm going to tell you a little through their introduction about what we're going to talk about today. So what if Social Security is not a safety net, but your sharpest tool? Today's guests, Russ Gaiser and Mike Hoeflich, are co-authors of the #1 bestseller Beyond Breakeven and the duo behind Retirement Income HQ of America. They shatter the industry's simplistic and too often used break-even analysis approach and show couples how to cut lifetime taxes, protect their surviving spouse, and avoid dollar cost ravaging by treating Social Security as a core asset, not a coin flip. If you want a plan that gets you through retirement, not just to it, this show is for you. And I want to just throw in a caveat there because for people who are hearing this and saying, oh, Social Security, too far away, I don't need to think about that right now. One of the things that I've learned is that you want to be aware because most people are kind of caught off guard when they get around the age that they can, engage in Medicare or Social Security. And then surprisingly, there are a lot more decisions to make than you realized. And so I love the idea of having these two on for my age group who's already talking about this, but also for younger people who really should know more about how it works. Just like everything we talk about in the world of money, so much is just left to us to figure out. And oftentimes we figure it out a little bit late in terms of, how we want to plan. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Russ and Mike to the Money and You Show. Hello.
Hey, Michelle, how are you? Thanks for having us.
I'm
Hi, Michelle.
great. And hi, I'm so happy that you guys are here because this topic is on my mind all the time. I have friends talking about it, people asking about it, and I have to say, I'm no real authority on it. I'm figuring it out as we go along as well. So when I met you, Russ, I was super excited that this conversation was going to happen today. So, and you are both financial planners, certified financial planners. You really understand the world of retirement. And I find that not many have come on and actually talked about Social Security, even as a significant component of the whole picture. And so I'd love to find out how, kind of your progression in your career that took you here. It turns out we were all working in career transition. And so, please jump in and tell us kind of how you got interested in this particular topic and what your careers have looked like previous.
All right, I'll start, I guess, Michelle, and I'll let Russ piggyback what I have to say. So years ago, I think when I started working with people in the financial advisory area, I had been a career changer. So before that, I was actually a teacher. And then before that, I worked in a trust plans administration area in a more corporate setting, human resources. And then out of college, if I went all the way far back, I was actually a computer programmer, system analyst. So everything I do now really is it's everything I ever learned, and my skill set really has just been so wonderful to then be in this position, because it's often about problem solving. It's often about having a system, a process of helping people. And what I found was, when people would get to the point of nearing retirement or at the moment of retirement, and the question about Social Security would come up, it seemed like everyone would have this sort of silent awkwardness to them, even me, which I admit. And it was almost like, well, what do you think you want to do? Or what do you wish to do? Or have you talked to anyone at Social Security about what you should do? And all of those were the wrong approach. And so I realized it's really, really important to have a better understanding of this. And we'll get into more detail, but a guaranteed source of income, a source of income that has cost of living adjustment, an income source that can be highly tax efficient, and oftentimes, geez, anywhere from maybe 30%, it could be all of what someone could get in retirement for income. And I just thought there was such a deficit of education and understanding. So years ago, 10 to 12 years ago now, I committed to saying, I want to be the specialist. I want to be the strategist that people could turn to. And we just think that it can make such a profound difference if it's looked at in a more intentional way, that whole choice of taking Social Security or not, or when to claim Social Security benefits.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. And we'll get back to that because there's so much, everything you said, brings up additional questions. But yeah, and you,
Russ?
sir?
Yeah, so like Mike, I'm a career changer as well. I spent 9 years active duty in the Air Force. I was a healthcare administrator though prior to becoming a financial planner, and on top of getting certified in financial planning and all those things, I realized who I was serving mostly in our firm was retirees or soon to be retirees, and realizing I knew nothing about Social Security claiming. And as a fiduciary, I'm bound to act in my client's best interests. And honestly, how do you do that if you don't know the ins and outs of what is probably their biggest guaranteed retirement income benefit? So I just felt like I needed to go a step further, and I knew Mike in our office was certified in the space, and I kind of brought my concern to him about that. And, I got certified in Social Security claiming strategies like we both are and have been for a while now. And we kind of just ran with it from there. We're like the Social Security nerds at this point. And
Really, we are.
for sure. But it's not insignificant to many people because, we have many client households who have over 6 figures of Social Security income coming in. Right. So,
Right.
yeah, it was just really that understanding, I don't know enough about it, and how do we actually incorporate this in a plan and look at it as a piece of the puzzle and not just in a silo, which is traditionally in our industry, I think, the way most people look at it. When do you think you're going to die, and when will you break even? And they miss or don't know even maybe about the rest of the benefit and how it actually works. So
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why it's such a mystery, to be honest, but yeah, I totally agree. And are you saying that there's a specific certification that you've gotten in this particular subject
yeah,
area?
so we hold the Certified in Social Security Claiming Strategies designation through the Corporation of
Oh,
Social
that's
Security
super
Claiming
interesting.
Strategies. So that, amongst others, Mike's certified in long-term care. And so we when we formed the Retirement Income Headquarters of America, we're independent, number one, but number two, we're comprehensive in our financial planning. But it starts with Social Security and income planning expertise, and then from there, it's a pivot. It's tax planning, it's investment strategy, it's estate planning, and Mike and I have those bases covered. When it comes to us and our team. So we were strong,
Yeah.
and we're both nerds about it too, like I mentioned earlier. So
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I find that the people who kind of nerd out in a certain area are just, unique and really, really helpful for people because everything is frankly more complicated than we think it is. And I mean, not everything, but a lot in the financial world seems to be. And so people just, you sort of get pushed towards things, but you're not getting the full story of what's going to happen down the road.
Right.
For example, I think how Social Security benefits are taxed is a mystery. I do think
For
that
sure.
even the cost of living increases, people don't necessarily know that. And I was surprised years ago when I got the little Social Security statement that they send you. And lo and behold, like you could make the decision of when to take it and the benefits adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I really want to talk about that a bit. I want to talk about all of this, but that's where one of the big decisions comes in. Should I take it as soon as I'm eligible? And then if I'm working or not working, that makes a big difference. So can you give us just kind of like a little summary of what people really should think about?
I think in general, like it's a paradigm shift. And we know by the numbers that most people file at 62. And
I didn't know that. Is that true?
yeah, it's
'Cause-
true. And just, is
Yeah.
it just 4 in 10, just over
Yeah,
4
about
in 10
40%,
file
sure.
at their full retirement age or later. So we think it's mainly an emotional decision when people are filing, not an informed decision. And to make an emotional money decision is usually a bad decision or not as effective as it could be. And so it's our goal. Like, we're not proponents of filing early or late, but we're proponents of truly understanding how it fits into your retirement income plan and how it can increase your liquid wealth, meaning you use less of your own liquidity to fund your retirement. It's what it's all about. So we're shifting the paradigm there, and we want people to make informed decisions. The taxability of it, because you brought that up, I think first, we're teaching a workshop here in Jupiter, Florida this evening, and we teach these all over the country, and we do probably 25 or so a year. And I always will say, is Social Security taxable? And the answer is, it depends. Now, the most it can be taxed would be 85% of the household's benefit that's coming in would be considered as ordinary income for income tax purposes, to as low as 0. So anywhere between 0 and 85% of it will be considered it for income taxes. And it really just comes down to how much other money you make. Okay. So if your household income is heavily weighted in Social Security income, the more tax efficient you'll be. But we can run those numbers, and we look at them annually with clients because it's important to tax plan around that, right? What other decisions are driving up the cost of your Social Security benefits? So it depends on that.
Yeah. And I would say this, Michelle, backing up just a moment. When people get the letter from Social Security just as they approach age 62, we say it's an invitation to get an income stream and to start it and get it for the rest of your life. But we don't see it as an obligation, right? So, I mean, let's face it. If you get a letter that says you are now eligible for an income stream from the United States government, it's pretty enticing. I mean, we admit it is very enticing, right? Many people would say, are you kidding me? Like I paid that payroll tax, the FICA tax all these years, and now I could actually get something out? How is it? I mean, that's a strong urge to say, of course, like, why would I not do that? However, that's the very first moment you can take. And if you do take, it's permanent at whatever level you've started. And we know that the difference between age 62 and age 70 claiming is a 77%. We're certain it can be a minimum of 77% more money or income coming in at age 70 than if you chose at 62. And again, we're not advocates of one thing or another, but there are so many other factors than just simply get it while it's there, get it because I've been invited to take it, because I'm now eligible. And so when we look at these things, we've called it Social Security optimization because, like many things, I think a lot of things are looked at in a very short time horizon. Like, I know you had in a previous life been a CPA, right? And so helping either individuals or companies.
Definitely a previous one.
Yeah, far long ago, yeah. And I think this is common, and I don't think it's altogether wrong, but we're always trying to find little victories, like how much can we save in
Yeah.
taxes to our state or our federal government, and often it is actually very rewarding to sort of feel immediate satisfaction. What Russ and I try to do though is say, whether you're an individual or in many cases married couples, we need to look at this as a bigger picture and not just year by year by year. And so when you do that, you start to realize there will be some issues later if you've taken Social Security soon versus later, because you might not have enough guaranteed income to last you for not only your own lifetime, but maybe for the second to live or second to die, the surviving spouse's lifetime. And if you put too much pressure on your own wealth, well, now you're living every day thinking, am I going to be okay? Well, we think right at the onset of retirement, we can say, we can evaluate this. We can give you a really good sense of confidence that you do have enough. It wasn't that you didn't save enough. We just have to use that wealth properly. And that all comes together in the coordination of claiming Social Security benefits at the right time for that household. So again, it's kind of you have to look at things longer than a year by year, and then there are so many other things that can come into the decision to take benefits sooner than later, especially if you take before what's called full retirement age. But I guess we'll continue from there.
Well, Mike mentioned the 77% difference between filing at 62 and 70. The benefit is your highest 35 years of earnings. That's how it's calculated. They do inflation adjust earnings that might have been earned 20, 30 years ago, right before your age 60. It's called averaged index monthly earnings. And then your benefit grows with whatever the annually stated cost of living adjustment is, which is usually announced in October of every year. So last year it was 2.8% for 2025 applied to 2026. But your benefit is calculated off of your primary insurance amount, which is at your full retirement age, which is calculated, or I guess dictated by your year of birth. So born in 1960 or later, age 67 is your full retirement age. Born between 1954 and 1960, it's 66, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 months, going up in years that you're born. So highest 35 dictates that number, and you're reduced about, if you're 67 is your full retirement age, to full 30% less from 67 to 62, and it's a full 24% more from 67 to 70 at a minimum, because you do get cost of living adjustments added to those benefits, which we don't know what they are. But if you looked back 8 years from now, if someone was 70 this year, all the way back to 62, with cost of living, it would be 138% of an increase in benefit, which is pretty significant.
Yeah, it's quite significant. When I saw that, I thought, well, this is obvious, especially if you're still working.
Yeah.
You just wait till 70,
Right.
But, I don't think it's as obvious as that. I mean, to me, because that was sort of the decision I made, but it was a split decision made on just looking at the numbers for 2 seconds.
Right.
So, but I want to go back to something you said, which was about how taking it at 62 is an emotional decision. And I just kind of lit up when you said that, because that's what this whole show is about, is people's emotional reactions and their emotions around money, because that drives so many decisions. And I agree. And the the story out there for so many years has been, oh, any day it's going to like disappear. So people feel like I better grab it now while it still exists. So so our brains are sort of fed all this, the fear, mongering that's out there, and just the naivete about the whole thing. We don't really know anything. And so it's very easy to just look at that like somebody's handing me a pot of money, I'm just going to grab it.
Can I speak on that real quick, though, Michelle? You brought up some great concerns there. And that's what we see in headlines, especially if you're just cruising through headlines, which is probably the worst thing you can do. Oh, my gosh, Social Security. Yeah, right. In 2033, the trust fund runs to zero. Oh, my gosh, I better get it while it's there. I think it's important to take a step back, though, and understand how Social Security benefits are actually paid for or funded, which 80% of the benefits that are payable are through payroll taxes. So even if you are subscribed to the fact that you think that the trust fund runs to zero, probably you want to put more thought into, hey, do I want 80% of a bigger or smaller number? If I'm truly in that camp. But the FICA payroll tax pays for Social Security, as I kind of alluded to just now. The government knows, though, if they raise the FICA tax, because if you make more than 180, they changed it for 2026. I think it's 182,500, somewhere around there. Every dollar you earn in income higher than that, you stop paying into Social Security FICA. If they uncapped that, there's actuarial studies that show the benefit would be payable as it is with no reductions for another 70 years. So there's very low-hanging fruit Congress could enact, and they haven't even changed the FICA rate for Social Security since 1990, I think, or 92.
Yeah.
So in the early.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just heard somebody speaking about this, and I did think it was fascinating because there was that, and they can play with some numbers that haven't been played with in a long time,
Right.
even the full retirement age.
For sure.
There's all kinds of things they could do to just safeguard it that are not extreme,
Right.
and they're the whole thing becomes less scary. I wish somebody was out there putting that on the news, but of
They
course
won't.
they
The
don't.
government's always acted too.
They have, and I think we always wish that the politicians would be problem solvers far more than they really are, and they're just so fearful of what will be the perception of me. With another campaign coming, if someone puts my name and attaches it to Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid, like suddenly people don't go deep enough. We're all too busy, and we're not committed to learning about every single topic, right? We just can't. We don't have the time. So as soon as you connect one legislator's name with Social Security, because the media starts screaming about it, they're going to say, "Oh no, you better stay away from that young man or this woman because they talked about Social Security. They must mean they want to cut it." If we'd all just take a step back and say, no, let's listen to what's your solution? I mean, I have 20-something-year-old daughters. I don't think that it would matter to them if they change the rules for Social Security now for them when they're 30 to 40 years from claiming their benefits. They have plenty of time to make adjustments in how they accumulate wealth and how they maybe choose employers. Maybe there will be pensions in their lives, So I just feel like they can do more. But again, we need the politicians to become problem solvers. And as Russ, you've said it all the time, they always have, but they usually wait and wait and wait until it's crisis level.
There's too many widows
Right.
too that live solely on Social Security, so they're not going to just cut the benefit. They can't do it. I mean, but there's a lot of easy fixes.
I think it went up to 100 million people benefit from Social Security benefits now, like over the 100 million mark. So
Yeah.
incredible benefit.
Well, it is incredible, and we have paid for it all these years.
No
Exactly.
doubt.
Those-
It's your money.
Especially if you're self-employed, you get to pay twice, right? Twice the
Yes.
6.2%.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what are you seeing in terms these 62-year-olds, the large percentage of them that are taking it right away? Do you have any idea what percentage are still working at that point when they take it?
I don't have that number, but this is why people might consider taking it at 62. Number one, they have to. They simply
Yeah.
can't work. They have no savings, right? And they need to take it. I think some take it, and like we have a lot of nurses, for example, as clients, and they have a pension, and of course, it all starts with, well, what are their spending goals for retirement? So let's just say their pension and filing at 62 covers more than what they actually need from an income perspective. Then they could,
Okay.
it might make sense for them to claim it. And maybe they want to work some, but they just work per diem so they can stay under the earnings limit test, which, by the way, the earnings
Yeah.
limit test applies if you file for Social Security prior to your full retirement age. Okay. And basically there's a dollar amount that you have to stay under for earned income. So it's W-2 wages, net self-employment income. Okay. Passive income doesn't count. Pension income doesn't count. real estate unless you're active in the real estate. So most real estate investors, that doesn't count.
Okay.
IRA distributions don't count. This year it's
480.
480,
Yep.
24,480 in a single year. So if
Okay.
you make more than that, every $2 above that, they reduce your benefit by $1. So there's reductions. Okay. So if you're going to be working full time, there's a chance if you filed, you actually wouldn't even see $1 of it because you could have a full forfeiture. So yeah, so at 62, there could be reasons to take it, but subject to the earnings test, and we'd have to evaluate whether or not that would be impact, that would impact somebody. So no, I don't have a percentage, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and
No,
scenarios.
I think the others who take it, I think it's fine and it makes sense to. If you have a married couple and let's say the one spouse has retired, they're the lower earner with the lower monthly benefit, and by them taking it really doesn't jeopardize their overall plan because really the higher earner of a married couple is often the one we'd more, I think, be enthused about them delaying because their benefit has the higher upside potential. And of course, as we often say, the higher benefit stays in the household if one person passes away. So you don't, you can often put the surviving spouse in real jeopardy by having only one smaller Social Security benefit that remains.
yeah.
So there's lots of
Yeah.
reasons, and then there are some people who take, like, if you have, gosh, I don't know what number you want to call it because it really depends on lifestyle and what your needs are. But let's say there's a couple with $5 million of assets or more. We might say to them, it isn't going to be that meaningful one way or another, whether you take, anywhere from, let's say, $18,000 to $32,000 a year, right? Like some difference in income, because you've got plenty of other wealth to support you and your family for the rest of your lives.
It may not matter from that perspective, from an
Right.
income perspective or like a probability of success perspective, but it may matter then from a tax planning perspective, though, right? If
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
driving more taxable income when you don't need to necessarily take it, maybe there's other strategies that are being implemented in the financial plan. Again, this is case by case basis, but
Right. So the must takes, and then those that think, on an income basis, it just won't matter. Then there's a lot of people in the middle, like so many people we talk to are in that position of it is going to be a meaningful amount of income coming from Social Security. It does matter to us that we
Right.
get more guaranteed inflation adjusted and can be highly tax efficient income from Social Security. So those are really often the people we appeal to because they know that putting the pieces of the puzzle together properly can literally make or break a retirement. And when I say that, I think people say, "Oh, how would you know?" Right? They wonder, and we say, "Well, because we can show you the evidence. We can show you what different claiming decisions will look like. We have proprietary software that, based on any decisions that might be considered, we can show them how much of your own capital will you then need for your 15, 20, 25, 30, 35-year retirement period, the period of time that you have told us you'd like to plan for." So we can do that like a crystal ball before they've made decisions and then decide, do we have a plan that looks viable, or do we have what we might call a very underfunded plan that you really, really have to rethink then about your decision
Yeah.
making?
Well, and if, I've had several people come on to talk about retirement, and um, it's been interesting. Most of them financial planners, but also people who, um, approach it in different ways because so many people are not fully retiring
right.
or don't want to. They don't completely want to stop working. I mean, I'm probably one of them that, I don't know what I want to be doing,
Hmm.
but I want the freedom to be able to choose whatever work I'm doing and how much of it.
hmm
But I don't really have a plan to stop working.
Hmm.
So I think that's a different scenario too than the person who's just living on saved money and Social Security.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point. Because once you do reach your full retirement age, you can make as much money as you want and still file your benefit, right? So maybe a good
I
segue to
really
that
wanted to
topic.
confirm that with you because that's what I've heard.
Yep.
Like, there's no limit. If you're making $10 million a year, you get the same Social Security,
No
Okay.
reductions.
That's right.
And so it's hard for me to, I mean, I understand the have tos. Have to comes in all financial
Yeah.
conversations. People, if you're in a have to situation, absolutely, great that can help you. But if you're not, then it's hard for me to make a great case for taking it before your full retirement age. But, or if you just know you'll never want to work again. But I know so many people have retired and then something's come along, a consulting opportunity or something where they're now making more money
Right.
in retirement than they ever made in their career.
Yeah.
So you want to
Yeah,
be careful.
I think I'd love to do this. Like if we just break down these little segments of time that people need to think about. So you mentioned retirement. Like, what does that even mean? Retirement to Russ and I means you don't want to work full time anymore, right?
Okay.
And that's it. And then at that moment, we know that you have a lifestyle to maintain, which means you have expenses. And so how are we going to meet your expense needs, right? So sometimes what we think is you've got to think of these segments of time. The time before you take Social Security benefits, we call that the bridging of time from full-time retirement to the first person taking Social Security, maybe the second if you're married. And we have to pay for that, right? It's not like someone else pays your bills. So we might use capital, and we call it bridge capital, to basically pay for that. Yeah, real clever, right? keeping it really simple. So bridge capital is needed to pay. Now, I just want to talk about this for a second. There's some real fear and anxiety when people think about all these many, many years, maybe decades, they've accumulated wealth. And now you're saying to them, but we're going to start spending your wealth. We're going to start spending. You're not going to be intentionally accumulating anymore. Clearly, that can bring a lot of anxiety because you're used to a deduction coming out of your pay or writing checks into a SEP IRA or IRAs or whatever. You're adding to your wealth usually, right, for many decades. Now you're saying you're going to ask me to use my wealth? Like, I'm a little fearful of that. I don't want to run out. The other thing, and you'll relate to this, Michelle, in our industry, professionals like us, we get paid for what we do. We either get paid maybe on commissionable products or advisory fees, like based on assets that we might have under management in an advisory firm. And honestly, and I say this with all sincerity, some of the last, one of the last things that many advisors in our industry would want to do is say to people, I want you to spend down some of the wealth you've accumulated and wait to take Social Security, right? Because they don't know anything about Social Security and claiming.
Yeah.
They don't want to see wealth leaving the firms for which they have money invested, right? They get paid. Assets under management means that there's a balance of wealth that they get paid fees on. So all of this lends itself to, if it's you, Michelle, and we're talking to you and we're uninformed, we say, well, Michelle, what do you feel like doing? What do you want to do? Do you want to take Social Security? I mean, you've been paying into it all your life. And you might be thinking, well, if the choice is taking Social Security or using my own wealth, of course I want Social Security's money. In our opinion, bridging can often be the better idea because you'll then end up with more guaranteed income.
Not in every case.
Not in every case. But then we have to figure out what's the income gap. You might not get enough from Social Security, even if you're delaying. We have to figure out how much more wealth do you need.
Well, I think the other thing, too, is most people have no idea how to spend down their own wealth or start distributing, right? We call it the save it and the spend it years in the book, right? Really, it's the accumulation and distribution years, but save it years, your dollar cost averaging into the market, right? Your 401k plan, whatever, is solo 401k, whatever you might be doing. And then when you go to spend it, it's a lot different, right? Because you're not putting money in, like Mike said, but even if you earn the same annualized rate of return, you can significantly diminish your wealth depending on what the sequence of the returns are. And so retirement really becomes risk management more so than it becomes for chasing returns. I'm not saying you don't need good investments and to be well diversified and you're not trying to earn good returns. It's just you have to understand what the risks are because they've changed, right? So by understanding how much capital you actually need to live out your retirement, then we know pretty much how much of your wealth is really needed to live your lifestyle. And then we can be very intentional about how that's distributed, whether we can be more aggressive for what we would call excess capital, wealth you have that you just don't need to live how you want, right? It's more discretionary, or we resurrect the notion of legacy, or maybe now we're using that to fund long-term care and permanent life insurance. Again, depending on what people are concerned or worried about. You can embark on all these other strategies, but first you have to understand how distribution works and how shifting from working and accumulating to spending and distributing what the nuances are. And Social Security has a big piece in lessening the risks in the distribution plan, more so than others, but that's how we evaluate it.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, there's strategy for the people who do need the money, who need to figure out, how they're going to live their lifestyle. And maybe if they have savings, there are those required minimum distributions that were new to me until I took care of my parents and I saw those for the first time.
Yeah.
All these things that nobody realizes, and which are taxed, and then your Social Security is being taxed, I guess. I mean, I don't know the nuances of that, but so before you think you're getting a certain amount of money, and the reality is that net is going to be quite different, possibly.
Yeah, and I think when people look at Social Security, when they're trying to talk about, and maybe they're working and they don't understand the earnings test, maybe, but they're going to invest the money, right, and get a better rate of return than what Social Security might produce. Yeah. I always encourage people to look at what they might be giving up by waiting, right, for that income stream. It's an income stream comparison, not an accumulation of a bucket of money comparison necessarily. Yeah. And if they are investing every dollar, right, and they're looking at it that way, well, if they file at 62, are they still working? And if they're working, are they under the earnings limit? And it's also being taxed.
Yeah.
So they're not even really investing. They don't get every dollar that they're putting in. And so we have to make the comparison based on the future income stream that we might actually need. Because the fact is, you would need a lot of wealth in a side account to produce the same income stream that you're giving up by that you're sacrificing by claiming early.
Yeah, this is great. This is so interesting. There's so many other aspects of this, how Medicare plays into the whole picture. There's a lot of there's so much more. But I do kind of want to, because some of that more is in your book. Yeah. So can you just kind of quickly walk us through what to expect in this beyond break even? People may not even put that together. So, what are you talking about with break even here?
Yeah. When we talked about writing the book, it was just in the middle part of 2024, I'll say. And the idea of a simplistic break even analysis just kept coming up, because that's typically what people will say is, if we ask them, have you considered Social Security and how it might be useful to you, and, what kind of form of income it'll be for you? And they'd say, oh, yeah, I've run the numbers, and I knew right where they were heading. And the numbers, like Russ, you alluded to it, it's the when do you think you're going to die calculator that they went through. They said, well, geez, if I take the benefit at 62 versus age 66, I need to live to be 78 to break even. And that just meant you'd get the same amount of dollars out, not considering cost of living adjustments, of course, just based on the formulas, that it would take you essentially till age 78. And if you looked at 62 versus 70, it's 80.5 years old. And we know this. We can do a very easy Excel calculator, or a calculation on a calculator or an Excel spreadsheet. But we'd always say, but there's so much more than just that break-even analysis, especially if you're married, if you've been widowed, or even divorced. There's lots of other things to consider. So when we wrote the book, we said, that's really the premise of it. Go beyond a break-even analysis. Go beyond break-even. And of course, doing this, I guess I'll let Russ interject, but we wanted the book to be about a 2 to 2.5 hour read, literally from like maybe whatever cold weather state you live in to that nice warm weather destination, like a 2 to 3 hour flight, you'd be done with the book. And we wanted to be basically easy to read, meaning, people that are more informed on financial matters or people very informed on financial matters, they get through the book very easily because there's lots of examples and cases and some definitions of things that they should consider. So we actually have real cases of people we've worked with, of course, changed the names, but things that they thought they would do. Why when after further analysis, it might have been a better decision to think differently, right? So that's kind of what you can expect in Beyond Break Even.
Yeah, we use the power of story.
That's great.
The power of story, we figure, it connects easier with people. Like if you're reading it and, that applies to me. And it was cool because what we did was we had, I don't know, about 80 clients of ours actually read the manuscript and give us their feedback. And that's when we realized, based on their feedback, that really people as early as 55 should read the book. It would be useful to them. Because to start to get into that mindset of, hey, how should I start putting this all together? Understanding the benefit better. And, we have, I think probably the most impactful stories we've heard are people that get widowed or have become widowed before they even have they might even be old enough to consider claiming. And there's multiple decisions to make. And an example, actually, this ties into what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Being widowed maybe early, a widower can claim a widower's benefit at age 60. Right? Now, their earnings limits apply, but it might give them the opportunity to take a step back from work, to grieve the loss of their spouse, to get that income from their spouse, and that, and then they can switch to their own benefit later. Like let theirs grow. So you're not sacrificing their own benefit. So there's just a multitude of things, but
there is. And
are those ideas covered in the book? Because I do think there's a lot to that too. I know people who are divorced, their ex-spouse has passed away, but nobody got remarried.
Yeah.
And they have, my understanding is there's some ability to get that higher Social Security.
Russ shares a great story. You should share this.
Yeah, I'll share the story because it speaks to that. And this is in the book as well, just because it's an impactful scenario. But and here's the rule, basically. If you were married more than 10 years, you weren't remarried, or you can get remarried. It just has to be after age 60 or 60 and later. Okay. To where someone you had been married to greater than 10 years passes away, you have the option to file their benefit, the whole benefit. So I'll just give you a quick example of this, how it can work. I met a woman a few years ago now. She's a client. She was 67. That was her full retirement age. And she knew enough to say, Russ, I know I still want to work, by the way, till at least 70. And she didn't want to quit or give up yet. She knows I can file my benefit and not have any reductions in it as much as I want. I just want to make sure that, should I do that? Should I not do that? Like, I want to evaluate that. And so we have a process. We treat everyone the same. They all go through it. And it starts with discovery, like learning more. It's kind of corny, right? But discovering more about people, what their goals and objectives are. So we're helping them to try to achieve them. And I found out she was widowed. She raised her family, her 2 kids, all on her own. She was married for 11 years, right? 10's the magic number, 11 years, never remarried. And I told her, I said, yeah, you could claim your own benefit, but you're entitled to this survivor benefit. Or I had found out her ex had passed. And so she went to Social Security and she had come back and she said, Russ, I'm actually going to, she was already 6 months past what we would call her widower's full retirement age. So she was actually able to retroactively file 6 months back. So she got a lump sum of back pay, filed for her benefit, her widower's benefit on her ex-spouse's record without reductions, right? Because she was past the full retirement age, while letting her own much bigger benefit grow. And she switched to her own at 70. And all in all, she ended up with about $60,000 without in excess, without interrupting her own benefit.
Wow!
And gave it, or she plans to give it all to her kids as legacy from their father, who didn't, have anything really to leave the kids. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is very cool. I love that story.
But you're not going to get a letter from Social Security saying, "Hey, you have this
Yeah.
benefit you could claim.
Yeah, we
you
have
know?
reason to think you might get something because of this, former spouse, divorced for many decades actually at that point.
Yeah.
And actually, I guess, some people might say, oh, why would I have to talk to these guys, right? Like, what's the point? What does it matter for me? And I'd say, well, one thing is some of these agents, the Social Security agents, wonderful people, I'm sure many of them, maybe all of them, but they're literally told in their operations manual not to give advice. They're told, do not attempt to persuade claimants into any decisions. So what does that mean? You think you're going to the field office in town and you think, oh, good, I'm going to get some help. I don't really understand this. I don't know what to do. And they're not supposed to help you. They're told not to. So you really have to be educated as to what the benefits are for you and what exactly you're asking for. Or it could end up far, far different. The real danger is if they said that to people, like, listen, we're not supposed to give advice. You really got to look into this on your own. Do what's best for you, and then we'll actually file the claim for you. That would be far better. What happens often is the agents try to be good and try to be nice and try to be helpful, and they don't know all the rules. They misinterpret things. They actually tell people the wrong things in many cases. Why? Because the only experience the agents have are those people who they actually worked with. And if they never had the situations that, like Russ just described, they might not know what the rules are. So it's just really important to take this with a very intentional approach. And you just have to go down into the deepness of it once with a specialist. And then once you've made your decision, hopefully you can just live with peace of mind, low anxiety, low stress, and enjoy your family, your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, the travel you wish to do. Not be worried that, oh man, am I going to be able to make it? I don't know if I did the right thing. Like, none of us want to live that way, right, Michelle? We don't want to be living every day saying, I don't know, boy, this is really worrying me. We want to just enjoy ourselves. But if you can make the right decisions early on, then you can then have that more peace of mind.
Well, and you hit it on the head because it's making the right decision. And the other thing you don't want to do is after the fact find out this information and realize you made the wrong decision and, be regretting that forever.
Oh, I can say something to that real quick that might be helpful.
I have like one more
Okay,
Oh,
minute.
you go ahead.
So let's go. No, not for me. But unfortunately, this is such a great topic. I knew this would happen. We're just, we're going to be out of time. But please make this last comment.
If you think you made the wrong filing decision, you have 12 months to rescind your decision. Okay?
Really?
Yes. So you can file
Wow.
and on the 11th month go, maybe you came to one of our workshops and went, oh no, I shouldn't have filed, or at least I need an evaluation. You can rescind it. You do owe the money back that you would have collected, but you can do that. And you can only do that one time. But you can rescind within a 12-month window.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this whole thing to me is fascinating. So I guess I'm a nerd too. I don't know.
We love it.
Or maybe I'm just
You're
in the middle
welcome
of it
in
and
our
I don't
club.
Yeah. But please tell people how they can find you, how they can find your workshops,
Sure.
and certainly they can buy your book on, I'm sure, Amazon, but I think it's sold on your website.
Yeah, we have
so
a
rather-
direct book website, so beyondbreakevenbook.com. You can actually get a free copy of it there, free audiobook, free PDF version, and then it'll take you to how you can to purchase a copy. Our firm's website, incomeplanhq.com. That's the Retirement Income Headquarters of America. Just call us or shoot us an email. It's all on our website to inquire about workshops that might be upcoming. But that's it. Those two websites. Easy as that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And people can hire you privately to just advise them
Yep,
on
all
this
50 states. If we're not, we have clients all around the country. Not in every state, but we can be in every state.
What a great service for people. I just love this.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, and we never even got to things like long-term care and all the other things that, this is great.
There's so much.
So I'll put all the links in the show notes and just really pleased to have had you on and let people know, about what to think about and where the resources are. I mean, even if you know nothing, but there's a resource out there like you two who can help them, that's really comforting and helpful.
Yeah, we do complimentary consultations, so we're happy to help
Okay.
whoever and answer questions.
Yeah, and thanks for having us, Michelle. This has been so
Oh,
much fun for us.
so much
Thank
for
you.
coming
We're
on. It's
very
a really
grateful.
important conversation. And I do hope that anybody young listening, even though, 67, 70 sounds so far away, um, and I think a lot of people, they don't know that they're going to feel potentially really great at that age and still want to be
Hmm.
working. And, it sounds old, but trust me, it's not.
Goes
So,
quick.
yeah. Okay. Well, again, thank you very much. And audience, thank you for listening to the Money and You show. We love bringing you this show and guests like Russ and Mike. And to keep that going, it would be super great for you to subscribe and like and review wherever you listen to your podcast. We're on all the podcast platforms. We're on the Limit Free Life YouTube channel. And yeah, please, leave us a comment or please connect with Russ and Mike if you have any questions in this whole subject area. So thank you, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.